Yeah, I'm an angel. Oh, hello, welcome back to Underrated Movies. I'm your guy, I'm your man, Mr. Alton Henry. Talk to you of another film that I believe is severely underrated. It came out 10 years ago. Cloud Atlas, starring a international cast: Tom Hanks, Jim Strogas, Susan Sarandon, Hugo Weaving, Hugh Grant, Halle Berry, and Keith David, and James Darcy and Ben Whishaw. It's a story of everything connected. That was deep. It's a story. It's a complicated, complex, philosophical sci-fi drama that spans 6 years, or not 6 years, 6 centuries, or just 6 different time periods, not 6 centuries, 6 different time periods, because some of them takes place literally almost right next to one another, with a couple decades, shy away from a couple decades. Um, I think that's the best way I can really describe this film in the simplest way. Just stories that interconnected and seem somehow how they're related to one another. That's the main story of this film. There's a plot synopsis from the novel, and personally, I think it's bullshit because I didn't see the story that they were saying from the novel, and I haven't read the book, so I can't say. But going off from watching the film, and I was really excited about this film when I discovered it. The 5 minute trailer was magnificent. It's probably the best trailer I've seen ever. You're showing a 5 minute trailer, not really telling the story, but you feel the emotional depth and the weight behind this movie or this film. And it's directed by the Wachowskis and Tom Twyker. And I have to say, this is one of the most philosophical, spiritual, and one of the best films I've seen of all time. Yet also polarizing and controversial, where I could see a lot of people hating this, but I would like to get you to watch this film. I think it's available for free on Tubi. And if you like this video, like and subscribe, comment below, and let me know if you have seen this film. And would you recommend it? Because I heavily recommend this film if you want something challenging and different to kind of get you out there. Now, there's 6 different stories. One of them deals with the first story set in the 18th century, where it deals with I don't remember if the guy was an alchemist or or he's like some sort of Jim Strogas. I'm just calling by the actor's name. Meets this slave, and he has some sort of, I guess, epiphany. Eventually, he ends up seeing him stowed away on a ship while he's also succumbed to some sort of sickness. And the two start formulating a bond, a friendship that, really kind of gets him to reconsider to abolish slavery law. But the focus on that story is really about their friendship and what really kind of transpires. And the second story follows a love romantic tragedy of a pianist who's taken a job to write music for this composer who has a secret, love affair. And I guess through the music and through trying to, I guess, form a connection with this person, he almost forms, could have been a relationship with the composer, which turns out to be not true, apparent to him. And I'll just leave it out there because there's so much that goes on. Excuse me, sorry. The third story follows a private eye and kind of like investigation of a reporter investigating some sort of corruption going on in a power plant. The fourth story, set in modern times, of the year the movie came out, of a man's of an elderly man who was framed or was kind of just set up to live in this retirement home, and now he plans to escape from the home's clutches so he could be free and whatever. And then the fifth story is a dystopian sci-fi like Blade Runner, rebellious Matrix kind of like story of a clone who's developed some sort of conscious and human behavior that gets freed from a rebellious group that tries to promote some sort of pacifism or some sort of rebel against the government. And the final story is set in post-apocalyptic, where a group of tribes try to find the meaning or the legacy behind the previous story, and there's an adventure kind of leading up to what it all meant to, what it all means. Wow, it was already 6 minutes in. And to be honest with you, like I think really that's really the sell point of the story is just finding out how these stories are interconnected. And the way that they edited the film, it's like all these stories are interconnected where it feels like one. So you're not watching story 1, 2, and 3. You're watching all these stories like they're all one, and they're showing you ways throughout the film how all these are connected, which actually kind of get you thinking about um, really about certain things about life, how certain actions we do could have consequences, could have things that might impact us to the next. Karma, reincarnation, that the film constantly revisits. It's the main theme of the film. And sometimes where some of these actors, where you have some of the same actors playing different characters. So it's like certain characters kind of get reincarnated into certain beings. And there is I guess, a gripe I have with the film where in the fifth story where they make certain characters, certain actors look Asian. It's a bold move, and I get the idea of reincarnation, but I don't know, that part of it I was a little bit bothered. Um, but um, that's the kind of the main focus that they were trying to nail with this movie. It has action, it has comedy. There's certain stories that lean more towards the other. The first three stories are like, well, first two are just dramas. First one's a slave drama. Second one's a romantic drama, tragedy. Third is a mystery drama. Fourth is a comedy drama. The fifth ones are sci-fi action dystopia, and the last one is sci-fi drama fantasy. And really, everybody does an amazing job with this. I think this is the first film I discovered the actress Doona, I think. And I have to be honest, this is closest. This is probably my second favorite Tom Hanks film. To see him play all these characters that I've grown to all like, even though some of them might deem to be cartoony than others, his performance in here is phenomenal, and he's able to nail every single character that he is in this film. Cinematography is great. I think this is one of the most beautifully shot films in history of cinema. The score of this was great. This film has the best score to any film I've heard. One of the best, one of the greatest scores ever, and it's severely not recognized for it. And I'm actually kind of repulsed that this film wasn't nominated for at least some of its craft. It's a beautifully made film with music, with cinematography, with visual effects, and this is funded independently. This film is known to be the most expensive independent film ever made by the Wachowskis, and I respect the Wachowskis. I respect the hell out of them, where they would take bold concepts, risky concepts, and they would try to get it out there into the public to try to really, I would say, do something different and unique. Sometimes I don't, the films don't always land, but this one was probably their most risky film, and I applaud them. I respect them for it. Um, this film is amazing. You laugh, you cry. There's certain things that there's action. It has everything that you would want in basically in any genre of film ever, except for horror. Uh, there's actually a moment in the film where there's actually a moment in the film, and it's in the second story, and I'm actually surprised this one actually got me. I thought romantic wise, it was probably one of the most tragic deaths I've seen in a romance or just in any film, and I actually felt it. It was actually very, very sad. But this film is breathtakingly beautiful. It's beautiful. Um, I could keep harping on about it and just talking about little bits here and there, but I don't want to prolong the whole this video. This film is severely, criminally, and insanely underrated, and it is a film you would have to watch multiple times because you may not get everything that's happening right off the bat from the first view. I actually had to watch the film twice in theaters. One, because I was mesmerized by it, and two, I wanted to kind of learn everything that was kind of with with what the Wachowskis were trying to say in this film. And then the book is completely different the from the movie story wise, because the story wise I heard in the book from like each story is told when it gets to the middle of the film or to the middle of the story, then it jumps to the next story and it keeps doing that until the final story, the sixth story. Then once and they play that story all the way, then they go back in reverse order, concluding the other stories from which way it was told. From going forwards, sixth story, then going backwards, concluding the rest of the stories. This one they edit the story all into one, where it's a lot of jumping around to story, back and forth, showing how they're all connected. I actually like that. I think it would have been more experimental if they stuck to the um, original way of how they did it, because there are moments of the films and moments in each story where you can tell how certain pieces were connected. Um, I think there was a moment because in the film there's moments where certain characters are actually reading or listening to another story to the next story, like or the previous story, like Ben Wishaw's character, the main character in the second story, was actually reading a book of the slavery story from the first story. And then you have Somi's 451's character, Donna Bay's character, actually watching a movie from the previous story before that. And then in the sixth story, you hear stories of from what Tom Hanks was being told that was happening from the fifth story, and then there's a revelation of when he actually tries to figure out and learn things about Donna Bay's character, and it's considered a shock value. That story is a little bit kind of difficult to kind of comprehend because they talk in the language where it seems kind of broken, where it's kind of tough to decipher or to kind of comprehend what they're saying. So that one that takes a little bit of patience to kind of get through, but that was actually a creative way and something to really think about. If civilization did fall, how would and they're trying to, I guess, start certain things over, would our language barrier be kind of broken? That was very inventful how they invented that. I think it's kind of like that in the novel the same way as well. So that was very creative of what they did with this film, the Wachowskis. Um, my favorite moments of this film. My favorite story is the sixth story. Then it goes from the fifth, then the mystery, then the comedy, and then the other two stories kind of come in. For me, I like sci-fi. I just thought the last story was so unique. Each story could actually have its own movie, and that would actually be very good, to be honest with you, if they actually made each story into like a feature and show how they're all connected. I mean, not like having like a 6 hour long ass movie, but just having one story like 90 minutes just to kind of dictate him like part one, part two, part three, part six. That's just my opinion. But this film was phenomenal. It's actually kind of funny thinking about it with um, Hugh Grant's character. In almost every story that he appears, he's kind of considered the antagonist. Him and Hugo Weaving. In almost each story, they're like the antagonists, or like bad spirits that would just shut down all the protagonists. Hugo Weaving and Hugh Grant are like the antagonists in this film. I thought that was unique. And I challenge you, you watch this film to kind of figure out which actors who's who in each story. There's a moment where Halle Berry is an Asian dude, and then there is a moment where Ben Whishaw is actually a as a woman, and yeah, there was like it has a lot of like trans themes too. So I kind of caught that in the film. But this film, just spiritually, is it's amazing. Like it's severely underrated, and it's one of the most risky and creative and bold films ever made. And I just wish this film would get the attention it deserves and kind of get looked at a little bit more. 10 years. 10 years. It'll be officially 10 years in October when the movie came out. 10 years. 10 years. Wow. Wow. Comment below. Let me know if you have seen Cloud Atlas. It's available now, I believe, on Tubi. I think it's on Tubi. And I think if you have HBO Max, it might be available there because it is a Warner Brothers film. Let me know what you thought about it if you have seen it. If you have read the novel, could you clue me in more about it? I mean, I would like to know someone's opinion. What if there's anything different from the novel of the movie? Please comment below. Let me know. Like, subscribe, and let me know what is your favorite underrated movie.